Hi everyone, I am Ushma Guradia. I am a pediatric physical therapist. I have been a physical therapist for almost 30 years or more. And the reason for coming out live here is to discuss and share some of the ideas that I have while I work with children. Please feel free to join the discussion or post your comments or queries. I own a private practice in Bangalore since the past 6 years. Prior to that, I have had extensive experience working in the United States in New Jersey. And while in Bangalore, I get a lot of children who get referred to me for autistic-like features. So many of these children have physical disabilities. They are able to walk, move around, or maybe sometimes not even able to walk or move around. However, they come to me with the referral stating autistic-like features. Or many parents, understand them as sensory issues. So, what are these autistic-like features? The autistic-like features are basically, they should not be called that. They are actually more sensory issues. However, what are these issues? These issues are restlessness. Even if the child is not able to move around or walk around, they display or demonstrate a lot of restlessness, hand flapping, hands in the mouth, humming, singing all the time, lack of attention, lack of eye contact, sometimes tapping fingers. If they are moving around, they just move around aimlessly or without purpose. Many of these children also have already been, may or may not have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or PDD-NOS, and autism spectrum. So, my main intention is to share with you my ideas about these sensory issues that children with cerebral palsy present with. So cerebral palsy or the subtypes that we have: children with hemiplegia, children with spastic diplegia, children with leukodystrophic features. So many of these children have already been attending therapy since years. However, as time goes by and they attain the age of 3 or 4 or 5, suddenly the parent feels, oh, the child has sensory issues, or the medical doctor or the neuropediatrician has diagnosed as autistic-like features. So now all of us as physical therapists know that children with cerebral palsy do have primary impairments in the sensory systems. However, what we also miss out is that many of these children have developed secondary sensory issues related to their movement deprivation, lack of adequate tactile input, deficits in bilateral coordination, deficits in body awareness. So generally the parents come to me with the complaint of, oh, my child was doing fine, doing physiotherapy, has learned to walk, etc., has learned to sit, has learned to move, has learned to walk. However, now has sensory issues. And when you look closer at the child has all of the deficits that I said, earlier. The child is restless, the child is not paying attention, the child does not have enough eye contact. The child may also have speech and communication deficits. So how, as physiotherapists, what do we do? As physiotherapists, we not only treat, incorporate stretching and strengthening in our treatment, but we also need to be very sensitive about sensory issues. We need to learn about sensory issues. We need to at least be able to identify sensory issues. And the best therapy that works is a treatment approach that incorporates not only motor, however, also sensory, but in addition, sensory components into the treatment. And I would like to say that not only motor and sensory components into treatment, but we also have to look at function. A master clinician, Peter Rosenbaum, who is a physical therapist in the US and who has published a lot of papers, is a great researcher, has urged physical therapists to use the F words during treatment. What are these F words? The F words are function, family, fitness, fun, friends, future. Now, all of these words indicate that we need to look at the child as a whole. We cannot treat the child just by stretching the heel cords or stretching the hip flexors or stretching the um, the upper back, etc., etc., followed by strengthening. But we have to look at treatment as being functional. Treatment should incorporate function. And of course, fun, fitness, which eventually will lead to more social participation within the family, outside of the family, and that would help the child be more socially interactive, make friends, and have a better future. The ICF, we all know that the ICF, the International Classification of Function, also urges us not to look only at impairments, but also to look at functional participation or functional limitations and social participation. So, we have to emphasize and look at a child as a whole and look at a child or observe the child through the ICF model. I leave you with this message today that physiotherapy cannot be only about motor skills. Physiotherapy also has to be about object interaction, locomotion, movement, because when a child interacts with objects while sitting, in standing, in upright positions, while moving, the child learns much more about their own bodies. The child learns much more about the relationships between their own body and the objects around them and the people around them. The child also learns to participate more in the world. So these are all together called perceptual motor experiences. Physical therapy has to incorporate perceptual motor experiences. I intend to do a series of live videos like this frequently or periodically as and when I can. And hopefully the next time I will be able to announce ahead of time and many people can come and post comments and join in the discussion. So today I leave you with one word: function, function, function. For parents also, I would urge to look at your child in terms of function. How is your child improving in terms of function? Is the child interacting better with their friends? Is the child interacting better in school? Is the child moving better? If the child is your child walking much more than what he used to earlier? Is the child participating much more in the family than he used to earlier? So professionals and parents alike, I would urge you to look at the child as a whole person and not just in terms of watertight compartments like physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavior issues, emotional issues. All of these, yes, we can, for our purposes to learn, we can look at these issues separately. However, when we treat a child, we also need to be very mindful about incorporating all of these issues. How is a child presenting behaviorally? What is the emotional status of the child. How is the child responding emotionally and socially? Today, I will just end this session with look at the whole child and then do your evaluation from there. Treat the child from there. Thank you.